All right, Treacle.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
A few technical issues, which are all sorted now, thank goodness. We've got some great guests on with us tonight, as you know. Start with Johnny. How are you, Johnny, tonight? Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. To be honest, I've been counting down the days till I return to this wonderful publication. I'm excited to be involved, and part of a stellar lineup. It's like the new Beatles.
Yeah. We've got the band back together at last. Thank you for coming on. It's really a real pleasure. And obviously the one, the only Adrian Clarke as well. It's great to have you back on as well, Adrian. Thank you.
Hello, chaps. Good to be back. I'm to blame for the delayed kickoff. Technical difficulties this end, but we're winging it on my phone. Good to be back on. And hopefully once the lockdown is lifted, we can finally meet up, Adrian, because we only live a couple of miles apart, don't we? So
exactly. You wouldn't think we'd have all the technical issues we've had when you're literally just around the corner. It's madness, absolute madness. And welcome back as well to the co-host Chappers. How are you, Chappers?
Mate, I'm fighting fit and ready to go. It's really, really nice to be back, and really, really nice to see all your lovely faces. It really is just wonderful. I don't know if there's anything wrong with the lighting here, but I think it looks like on my phone anyway that I've got my face is the same colour as my shirt. So perhaps I'll just be jaundiced for the evening, and that's fine by me.
You've got the look of Donald Trump in your face, so that's not a good thing. But
okay,
we'll run with it, Chappers. We'll run with it.
Let's go spooky.
Your hair's, I mean, you must admit your lockdown hair is getting very feral now, Chappers.
Oh, mate, it's out of control. I don't know what to do. In fact, I tell you what, my obsession with the Arsenal players' hair, etc. I'd be absolutely fucking ashamed if I was to meet any of them on the street. I'd run a mile.
Well, we've got a few things to get through tonight. Going to sort of finish up on a shorter version of the quiz that we started, which is really good fun. I don't know whether to go into the almighty Cochrane going on recently, pardon the pun, with William Saliba. It's a bit mad. I'm sure we've all seen the situation. I don't know one thing I want to talk about, because of the interviews that he's been doing. What's 2, 3, 4 interviews he's done now where he's been quite critical of the club and with Arteta. I just want to know, really, whether you think he's got a future at the club, you guys. I'll start with you, Johnny. I mean, it's not looking good for him, is it, at the moment? Even though he's playing very well. He won the Player of the Month for January. But he's just not doing himself any favours at the moment, is he?
I'm quite pleased we're talking about this, actually, because it's been a bit of a hot topic this week. Not least the leaking of a video as well, which, to just clear that up straight away, from what I understand, that was from 3 years ago, and obviously is poor, in poor taste no matter what. But it's the mistakes of a 16-year-old, and one thing I do detest was some of the homophobia bouncing around the Arsenal community, and there's no place for it. So regardless of his silly mistake at 16, don't want to hear that nonsense. In terms of him as a player and a prospect, I'm going to hold my hands up. I've been I've been absolutely desperate to see what William Saliba was going to bring to Arsenal Football Club, and obviously for that reason I've been more than frustrated at the fact that he's had virtually no playing time outside of the kids games, and he's been left in a situation where, for him, he's obviously felt the need. Well, he obviously wants first team football, which is understandable, and Arteta has also presented a situation where it's like, oh, you're not experienced enough, or you've not had enough game time recently to break into the team, but I'm not going to play you. So he was kind of left in a catch-22. My issue, and this is, Saliba doesn't help himself with some of the things that he comes out with and how he, speaks about Arteta and the club. But on the same note, this is a young man. He's 19 years old. He's suffered a great deal of grief in his personal life recently, the loss of his mother, and obviously, as we talked about earlier, has just, made some mistakes as a young man would and does, And the fact is that if he's not being given that support and guidance from the manager in terms of, if he's not feeling ready, help him to be ready. Give him the support, the structure to help him get to where you want him to be, rather than I feel Arteta has alienated him and left him feeling like there's only one way to go, which is out the club. Now, I know I won't be alone as an Arsenal fan, feeling very frustrated when we've not even seen him play yet. Like, even if Arteta doesn't feel that he's up to it, the simple thing is play him, let us all see that he's not good enough, and you'll get much less resistance from the fans. But simply at this stage saying, oh yeah, he's not match fit, and then bunging a £27 million defender out back to League One. So what? We're just kicking the can down the road in terms of him not being match fit and ready for the Premier League action. Well, that's not really good enough for me, and speaks to a bit of a deficiency in Arteta's managerial profile, which is player management on that front.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I agree with everything you just said there. And I've watched him a few times for the full 90 in the under-23s. I've, like everyone else, watched as much of the games he's playing over in Liga at the moment. He's looking very, very good. I mean, Adrian, what's your thoughts on all this? I mean, I'm a little bit worried that he's either getting some bad advice as well from an agent potentially, or a family member, or I don't want him to go down the same route and turn into another Guendouzi or an Elka.
He needs to be careful. Yeah, he needs to be careful. Yeah, look, I feel sorry for him because he came with big price tag, high expectations, and clearly a player of great ability, and then he hasn't been given a chance. And I feel desperately sorry for him. I think a lot of that was down to sort of obviously the not getting enough out of the door before the start of the season, so that there wasn't room in the squad. That wasn't his fault. That's mismanagement really from up above. I do find it really surprising that he wasn't included in the Europa League squad. I don't see why he couldn't feature in those games, or even the Carabao Cup games. So yeah, I think he's got a reason to feel a little bit sour. But the truth is, it's not going to do his prospects any good if he goes and does these interviews overseas. You can't do that these days. Everything gets back within about an hour at the max. So you've got to be really, really careful. And from personally, football clubs in general, when you say things that are negative about them in the press, or you just vent your frustration or air one or two grievances publicly, it never goes down well. It goes down terribly, and people will probably be having a word with him about it moving forward. So it's not going to help. I just prefer him to knuckle down, show what a brilliant player he is, and make sure that he plays well enough so that Arsenal can't ignore him moving forwards. But I take on board a lot of what Johnny said there. Hopefully they've got some kind of liaison person over there, or somebody in regular contact with him, just to make him feel like he's still part of the Arsenal family. I would imagine that's happening. I would be surprised if it isn't.
Yeah, we've got this, and his name is just gone completely out of my head. The loans, the guy that's dealing with the loans at the club now. I don't know the guy, and I don't want to make assumptions, but this is my own personal opinion. I think he's not doing it at the moment, this guy. With regards to the loans, I think players like Willock, Nelson, and a lot of the other young players that we've got coming through, they should have gone out on loan a long time ago. And the fact that William Saliba's loan was messed up in the summer, I don't think there's any kind of excuses that before that. I just don't understand what happened there. It was all set to go on loan in the summer, and the fact that it didn't.
Sorry, Andrew. Why would you say that is the fault of a loan person at Arsenal? Because ultimately, the buck stops with the manager. He decides who he wants out on loan. Could you imagine if this guy was going, "Oh, I'm going to loan out Aubameyang or whatever"?
No. Yeah, but these guys were clearly. I mean, especially. Let's talk about the Saliba situation mainly, though. The fact that didn't get done in the summer, I don't see any excuse for that. I think it's absolutely horrific from the club not to have got that done and then treat him for not quite 6 months, but near enough, the way that we have in that intermediate time. It's just, I'm exactly the same as what you said. I would be so disappointed and gutted if we end up losing him without him having kicked a ball for Arsenal at all.
But it's down to him. It's down to him to perform, isn't it? And no one can persuade me. No one can persuade me that Mikel Arteta wouldn't pick him if he was really impressed with him. If he'd have been really impressed with him, he would have picked him. So it's down to Saliba now that he is out getting first team football, to be brilliant and to show the right attitude. And then, Arsenal will surely give him a try. And if they don't,
there are a ton of mitigating factors, I think, within the whole thing. Obviously, the fact that he's not been, he's not exactly had the best treatment from the club. But so I really, really wanted to kind of make a comment on this because, so I actually read the interview. I didn't see it, but I read the full interview of what he'd said. And actually, when you take what he said to what has been tweeted about, for example, actually those have been taken, well, I wouldn't say out of context necessarily, but they have certainly been sort of pushed towards an extremity, because what he actually said, he did say those things, but he didn't say them in the same breath, and he was very sanguine about the whole thing as well, and philosophical, and saying, he said quite a few times, well, that's football, and like the thing that really, really gets me, and it gets my goat quite a lot, especially when you do the rounds on social media and on the news media, the football news media as well, is that hysteria is the new currency now, and it is it's a massive, with the impact of social media as well. It's a massive detraction from what's happening on the pitch, but also what's happening off the pitch, and it's all distilled into tiny little sound bites, and all of a sudden, Saliba's done. And it isn't like that at all. I mean, I personally agree with what you were saying, Adrian. I sincerely hope that he's been kind of having, or the club have been having those conversations with him and talking to him, so they're able to kind of reassure him that he can fight his place back into the side, and that what was decided by the manager was the right thing, and all these kind of things. I personally think I really, really want to see him. We need a player in that position, and he's the guy that fits the bill, and hopefully he'll come back. It'll all be, the fences will be mended, shall we say, and we'll have a promising player on our hands.
The thing for me is I'm not 100%, like, I appreciate what everyone's kind of said here, and wouldn't it be nice if he comes back and does his talking on the pitch? The problem is, I feel that from the murmurings of him, he feels like he's been betrayed. We are a club that went out of our way to sign him. He had other suitors, and we bent over backwards to sign him. Of course, Emery was the manager at that point, but we dedicated a lot of attention to him, and then for him to come to our club after a year. A year staying at his previous club, all that excitement, all that anxiety building up, and then he comes and then he's basically shelved. And the thing is I think we're assuming that he doesn't feel like the bridges have been burned, because this treatment, he might be thinking, do you know what, I'm better off out that club, and I'll go to another club. I haven't even played there. So when you look at the likes of Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who has also clearly had issues with Arteta, and you know, you're talking about a guy who was like man of the match at the Community Shield, like looking really good. We stopped him from going on a permanent deal in the summer. Clearly been sold a dream that you're going to be part of it. And this doesn't mean that, you know, Ainsley's not done anything to contribute to it. It's just there's a few young players here that, for whatever reason, are having issues with the manager, and it's not being smoothed out. Now, Ainsley is one of our more capable young prospects. There are the likes of, for me, Reece Nelson and Eddie Nketiah. They're not going to make it. Ainsley could make it. If you're going to say it's an attitude thing, fair play, it might be. But if you're saying it's an attitude thing with Ainsley, with Saliba, with Guendouzi, you know, we're starting to get into a bit of a pattern here with some of our most promising youngsters, and they're not gelling with the manager, and that for me is a concerning point at the very least.
Yeah, exactly the point I wanted to come on to. That is a big worry for me. And the other thing we need to add into this Saliba situation is the fact that Pablo Mari and Callum Chambers were both included in squads, and they couldn't kick a ball until Christmas. I mean, what does that say to Saliba as well? The fact that they were not going to be able to play because of injury, and yet he was omitted, and they weren't. I don't get it, but I am really concerned about what you just said as well, Johnny. That has he in the Arteta, has he got that kind of skill that you need as a manager? Because
but you got to look. You got to look at the kids as well. Look, which of those kids deserve to be in the first 11? Which of those kids have made themselves undroppable, like Bukayo Saka? None of them.
What did Ainsley make the Niles do wrong to be?
So we changed the system. He was brilliant at wing back, or he was very steady at wing back. We went to a back four. Would most fans prefer him to Kieran Tierney at left back? No.
No, that's a valid point.
Hector Bellerin at right back has got Cedric breathing down his neck. Maitland-Niles had opportunities at right back, and in my view didn't play as well as Cedric or Bellerin when he had the chance. So,
sorry, just to come back, Adrian. I think the issue with Ainsley Maitland-Niles is he came out and said straight away, "I want to play in centre midfield." For all of that barren run, when we were in an appalling tailspin, when we were relentlessly picking Mohamed El Neni and Xhaka week after week, and we're getting run on by poor teams. I mean, I say poor teams, we're probably going to be knocking around them in the league by the end of the year, but you get the picture. Like, we should be running through them. And there was that game when Ainsley did get played, had a great performance, and he came out and literally said, and you know, we don't have to read too far into it, it's nice to have some legs in midfield. And it was nice to have some legs in midfield.
You know what? I don't think he's played since that moment. No.
And I think that kind of built up a bit of a friction because, you know, the fact is, for me, I would have, when we're in an appalling run, you have to look for solutions. One of the best things that have happened for Arteta is the fact that he gave Emile Smith-Rowe a go. You know, I think it was the kind of last roll of the dice, and it's worked out wonderfully because obviously Emile Smith-Rowe has stepped up to an elite level for Arsenal, and that's fantastic. But Ainsley never really got a considered go, particularly in midfield, when, you know, with Partey injured, we seriously lacked any dynamism in there because obviously when Xhaka plays, he doesn't have the legs to get around the field, and that's not even just a critique. That's just a basic observation. Everyone knows that about Xhaka. So for me, I think it was crying out, and I'm sure Ainsley was saying this because he was saying in the press, stick me in next to him because I'll at the very least add some legs in there. And that was concerning that he never got given the go, and speaks to potentially a personality clash rather than it being just down to ability.
But also you've got the fact that Partey's coming to the team as well, and actually Partey and Xhaka seem to be complementing each other quite well, and all of a sudden, there's no space for him. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. There doesn't seem to be anything for him in on the right side of defence, and there doesn't seem to be anything for him in midfield. And I can understand his frustrations, you know, but what are you going to do? You either fight for your place in the side, or
if you want to play for Arsenal, if you want to play for Arsenal, it's fiercely competitive. You've got to be the cream of the cream. You've got to be the best of the best. Smith Rowe and Saka have grabbed those opportunities. The other guys have played okay, a bit like I did when I came into the team all those years ago. I did all right. I didn't let myself down. I held my own. But ultimately, I wasn't quite good enough to make that consistent impact. And that's why I moved on. It happens. It happens to young players. I just think some young players get a little bit ahead of themselves and think, well, I should be playing every week now. And if the manager's the most important person at the club, if they think other players are better than you, it's in their interest to play those players. And if you don't fit, then you either be part of the squad or you leave. And it's just part of football. It's always happened.
In your career, sorry, Adrian, in your career, have you ever had it where you felt, obviously you're playing at a top level, but have you ever felt that you were playing under a manager who had a vendetta against you, or it became more of a personal thing rather than the performances that you were putting on the pitch and feeling like you were never going to get given the go?
Definitely, and it happens. It definitely happens. Yeah, I had it at Southend, had it at Stevenage, where they went full time and I was a part timer because I had a job as a journalist. I was making my way, and I couldn't train during the day. So because I wasn't training during the day, he was picking other players ahead of me, and obviously I felt aggrieved at that. And then there was a clash, and it didn't matter how well I played in training or in games, I wasn't going to get picked. At Southend, the manager came in and signed two wingers, and I was a winger, and he was always going to play those ahead of me, even though I was doing better than them in training. So yeah, of course it happened. Everyone has their favourites, but the manager ultimately, it's in his best interest to pick the best team that he thinks will win in matches. And if you're not in it, then it's tough. Football is tough, and there's only 11 that can be happy each game. So yeah, I just think with certain young players, they've got to be patient, and other young players, they've maybe got to see the writing on the wall and think maybe it's better elsewhere.
Do you think, Adrian, that perhaps Arteta could do a little bit better with managing egos? So Wenger was notoriously good at that. Do you think he perhaps is a bit too inexperienced, to be able to kind of handle that kind of?
He's learning on the job, isn't he? Yeah. I mean, he's.
Can I use this moment as a perfect segue into the next topic, because it is the perfect moment to do that, and that is Nicolas Pepe. I think that the way that, I don't know, I'm just going to put myself in this position for 1 minute, and I'm playing devil's advocate because I'm not going to go one way or the other here with this opinion. But he came off the back of a really good end to last season. A lot of people reckon he was man of the match in the cup final. He had a great game. I mean, he would have scored one of the best cup final goals of all time, but it got ruled out, unfortunately, if you remember that. And then, obviously, he must have thought, yeah, I've done really well. I'm going to hopefully really kick on next season. And then we go out and but we sign up Willian in the same position that he was playing at the time. And all of a sudden, he's very sporadic as well. I think his numbers are always fairly consistent. There's not many games that go by where he doesn't either do a goal or make a goal or an assist. There's not many of those that happen. He does quite well, and then all of a sudden, he's very much on the fringes and just playing against Dundalk, and he's having good games. But then he seems to have worked his way back in the team, which is great. I'm really, really happy for him. He seems to have found a little niche on the left-hand side. But what I wanted to discuss with you is how do you think he's doing at the moment? Firstly, the way that he's come back into the team, and he has fought his way back into the team because of really good performances. But also, and it also touches onto this Mikel Arteta man management type of thing, because I've got this opinion, and it's purely an opinion, that he is really like an exceptional Wenger player. I think if he'd have come in under Arsene Wenger, he really has the type of personality on the pitch and flair and the way that he plays to really thrive in that kind of environment. And I think that Arsene Wenger allowed players very, very much to play with flair, play to their strengths. He put trust in them. He gave them encouragement to do that, and they felt his faith. And I think that he hasn't had that really at all, in my opinion, for a long period under at Arsenal so far. And I think that if he'd have come in under Arsene Wenger, the way that he played, he would have been. I'm not saying he's good because no one is, but he could have been playing in a very similar way to the way Thierry Henry came into the team. First started off as a winger and played more as an inside forward, and we all know what happened with Thierry Henry. Because I think Pepe is an exceptional finisher. I love watching him play. He's the sort of player I really want to watch play, because although he's frustrating at times, the moment of skill and sheer brilliance and genius that he provides from time to time, that's what gets me off my seat. And I'd rather watch that with someone who's come into the team like Willian, who is very vanilla, who's not been doing very well. I would much rather be excited just for one moment of a game rather than just I don't know what you think about that. I'll go to you first, Johnny. About what your thoughts on and what I think about Pepe in the way that he's adapting now. And
so let's get the elephant in the room out of the way, because you mentioned his name. Willian is an absolute disaster. Cannot stand the guy. Shouldn't be at Arsenal. It's one of the biggest blotches against the names of Mikel Arteta and Edu in signing him. It was just bad at inception. Like, what are you thinking? It's a real, and he is a walking disaster, and he is walking because he rarely runs on the pitch these days. In terms of Pepe, it's an interesting conundrum, really. He's quite an enigmatic character. Now, from my time working at Arsenal as well, there were conversations I had, and one of the things that I got fed through to me was that basically it's an issue of character with Pepe. His ability is there. Like, if you could play in a vacuum and say, how fast can you run? How can you bend the ball into the top corner? All of these things. He's got all the skills, all the attributes to make it at the top level. But he's quite a meek character. He's quite shy. And I explained on my own channel and a few other conversations I've had with Arsenal fans that because Pepe is quite a weak character, and it's, I'm not saying anything revolutionary there. You can probably tell from his candour on the pitch that he's not exactly a leader in terms of the way he carries himself. And he's much more of like a weather vane. He absorbs the influences around him on the pitch and he pumps that back out. So when at the start of the season he was starting with Willian and people like that, if they're garbage, Pepe's garbage, because he doesn't have enough about him to generate his own steam. He reflects, again, what is going on around him. Aubameyang completely out of sorts this year. So if you're out of sorts as Aubameyang, Willian there, and you're asking Pepe to do it on his own, he's not going to do it. What we have seen is a real upturn in form since the likes of Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka suddenly playing further forward in the positions they should do, and because Saka is our best attacking player. And suddenly, when you've got an attacking kind of formation and strategy that is built around youthful exuberance, energy, aggression, then suddenly Pepe's gone, hold up, that's what's getting rewarded at Arsenal now. Because before, when Willian was getting picked, despite, clearly better players being around, it's like, oh, is that how I'm meant to play? Shit. Whereas now it's like, oh, actually, if I if I pressure people, if I'm constantly moving, if I run off the ball. And one other interesting little point I just would say about Pepe is what we've seen in recent games is an increased ability from him to run in behind. What he was doing earlier on, I found that he was taking the ball and trying to dribble around everyone. In the Premier League, there's not many players who can do that. It's a difficult league to be rolling around doing that kind of nonsense. This ain't League 1, it's the Premier League. But what he started doing, because of the likes of Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka, is saying, I'm going to stretch defences, so I'll play on your shoulder. He has got the pace to terrorise opposition defenders by running in behind, and that outball with the likes of Thomas Partey finding him has suddenly been one of our biggest weapons. So I do think he has utility in this Arsenal team moving forward. But if we're asking him to do something that he's not built to do, we're probably going to be disappointed.
Do you think that's? Do you think that's like? Do you think that's something that Pepe can learn? Do you think that kind of, I suppose, that sort of leadership and that sort of proactivity or proactiveness? Do you think that's something that he can learn? Do you think that and if he does, do you think that it would ultimately improve him as a player as well?
It might come with maturity. I think if he matures and feels more comfortable in his surroundings, he might have the confidence to sort of be that spark that Johnny was talking about. A really interesting point, actually, that Johnny made. I think there's merit to it. I really do. And I think the standards have definitely been driven up in the last couple of months, competition for places, but mainly the team is just playing with so much more energy and aggression and assertiveness. He's realised, I have to do that to stay in the team. The running in behind bit, I think, has probably come, Johnny, because he's playing on the left a bit more, and he feels more comfortable to run in behind on the left. And he's on the Xhaka side. Now, Xhaka, I mean, we've all seen it. He loves to play those balls in behind, doesn't he? For, those angle balls to the left-hand side. He doesn't play them as often to the right, tends to play them to feet. But on the other side, he'll look to put people in. And Pepe's good enough to do that. So, yeah, look, he's a good player. He's a talented boy. I think his stats tell us that he's, our second or third biggest goal threat, outside of Lacazette and Aubameyang. He will score goals. Europa League, he was contributing almost every game, wasn't he? So he's well worth persisting with, well worth it. But
I don't think he's ever been a winger, Adrian, is he? I don't think he's a chalk on the boots winger. I think he's much more comfortable closer to the box.
He is, but is he? Could you see him holding the ball up? Not really.
No,
Does he make intelligent runs? Up until recently, no, but I don't. To play as a striker, even as part of a two, you really have to be smart with the runs that you make. Otherwise, you just be running around all day, never getting hold of the ball. And I don't know. I think it's something he could learn, but right in the here and now, I don't think he's got that intelligent movement. I think he's an improviser.
I suppose my question is.
Well, one other thing. Sorry, Chappers, you can go to you. One other thing. When he was on the right, how many different partners did he have behind him? That at least three. You can name straight away. I think that if he could, I'm a bit worried about Tierney as well, but that's another subject. I don't know if we have time to go on to today. But if he could strike, a permanent partnership on the left with Kieran Tierney, I think that would be incredible for him, because with Tierney overlapping him on the other side, I think that could be an extremely fruitful partnership.
Well, that's actually a really perfect point for me to bring in. So I was going to say, do you think, or do any of you think, that with the right sort of pairing on his side, he will ever be £72 million good?
No one is.
Well, the issue is that that's essentially been Pepe's biggest issue. The price tag is a millstone around his neck, but he didn't ask to. It's the old adage: he didn't ask to be signed for that much money. But there's also no point in saying something like that, because you were signed for it. So we expect a certain amount of quality. And to be honest, it doesn't even matter if you're signed for 40 million. You've got to be better than what you've given us over that time. And I think one of the things that's so frustrating about Pepe is when you look at how he finished last season, I think we were all looking at him like he's perfectly poised to make that step up now. The Premier League's difficult to get to grips with, especially when you come from France. Like, they're different leagues, they play differently, different pace to the game. So, we were all kind of hoping that he'd maybe acclimatised and we were going to see a rampaging player. But I don't necessarily think that, despite being signed for 70 million, I don't think Pepe needs to be the best player in the league to be a success. But he needs to be better than what he is now, no question about it. And he needs to be able to make the difference in big games, in big moments. And it can't be as inconsistent as it's been up to now, where we're seeing flashes, but a lot of the time he's not being involved in the play. But what I would say, to end on that positive, is I do think in recent weeks we've seen him get much more involved in the play, and I think he's playing with players who are going to get the best out of him through either spotting his runs, playing quick footballs, not slowing the tempo down all the time, because that is a disaster for him. It shuts his space down that he can run into. And quite frankly, when the ball's coming to him slow, apart from doing some, trying to do some quick dribbling, which often goes wrong, he's got no ideas. It just whip a ball into the box. So, I'm hopeful that we might be able to see the next iteration of Pepe. But of course, it's no surprise that the jury's still out for a lot of Arsenal fans on someone who cost that much.
I think it's come with a bit of game time as well, hasn't it? Like the more game time actually he's been receiving, the more we're seeing a little bit more consistency. I know it's not the amount of consistency that we all expect at that price tag, etc., etc. But I think that's helped him a lot.
Yeah, I'll just finish up on that point because I just wanted to say, Adrian, obviously in your experience as a player as well, it can't be easy coming in and out of the team, having a bit patchy, a few minutes here, a few minutes there. That's surely got to make a big difference as well, which is what I've been waiting for Pepe, to have a run of a few games on the trot.
Definitely.
To build up that.
Definitely makes a difference. Yeah, and you feel wanted, and your confidence suddenly rises because you know your first choice all of a sudden, and you got Martinelli on the bench, you got Willian, you got Aubameyang that's been on the bench, so you're under pressure, but you're picked ahead of them. That lifts you, of course it does, and match fitness wise, obviously you need the games. I always felt I needed 4 or 5, 70, 80, 90 minute run outs before I got into what you call the groove, whereby 90 minutes wasn't a problem. It's the same for all these guys. He will benefit from a run, but look what happens now. I mean, Aubameyang's ready now, isn't he?
This is it. Yeah.
I mean,
nice problem to have, as the old cliche goes, isn't it? Really?
Saka's not going to be left out. So yeah, Arteta's got a bit of a problem on his hands in terms of selection now.
Which is good. I mean, we all wanted that. Our bench is looking very, very strong for once, isn't it? Now we've actually got quite a good few options on the bench. But
I remember the last time that you look at the bench and go, "Oh, actually, I've got a fancy a bit of that." It's been a while.
Do you know? I would actually come back on you, Andrew, there a little bit and say it's not actually a good problem to have. It's a bad problem to have. Because just because the fact is that Aubameyang's form is absolutely dire. Let's just be clear about that. It's shocking. He's our star striker, or previously star striker, really desperately struggling for form. And then you've got an issue where Pepe is a player who's been brought for a huge amount of resources in terms of, you look at our whole pie, how much resources we have for our playing squad. He took up a large chunk. And you look like, you've got a player who looks like he might be stumbling across some kind of form. Now, if you take Pepe out of the team, where do you think he's going to end up in 5 games' time? He's going to be back where he was, and you've got to look at it as well. Like, you have to be quite clinical about these things. Pepe is what, mid-20s, 25? Aubameyang's 31, and looking like he is just not getting it together. He doesn't look like it. If we talk about the fact that this new way of playing in terms of our attacking coherency has benefited Pepe, well, one thing it's definitely done is really caused issues for Aubameyang, because he struggles with link-up play. Without the space to run in behind, he can often be, as we've seen, he's often on the fringes of a game, but what he gets out of jail with is his elite world-class finishing. Well, his world-class finishing hasn't been there for a while. That's only going to get worse being out of the team. But at this point, I say it's a problem that might not be a good problem, because what you're going to do, you're going to take a Pepe who's improving out the team for Aubameyang who looks awful, or you're going to give your club captain his place back in the hope that he can re-salvage form, even though every time we've seen him enter the team in recent months, he's been absolutely shocking, really.
If you ask most Arsenal fans for their front four against Leeds, based on form, they would pick who we started with against Aston Villa, even though we blanked it, we didn't score. I think on form, Lacazette with Smith Rowe behind, Saka right, and Pepe left is the team that he should pick. So it will be fascinating to see what happens. And in fairness to Arteta, the last few weeks he's picked the team on merit. So yeah. I would expect Aubameyang to be sub again.
I mean, my opinion on this now is that the league's a write-off. We all know that it's a write-off, and the last thing we want to do is qualify for that Europa Conference thing. I mean, because that'd be far worse. I mean, that'd be too embarrassing to even mention. Plus, the travelling you'd have to do there would be far worse, I think, than the Europa League. I just think it'd be nice. Look at Faroe Islands teams and all sorts of shit on that. But I honestly think that. I honestly think that when it gets to the summer, Lacazette's got 12 months left on his contract. Do you think he's going to get a new one? I really don't. If you're going to learn lessons from the past, because you've got to give a contract. Let's not forget on what you think this player is going to do over the length of that contract, not what they've done. And that's the mistake I think we've made for years because we've done giving out contracts on the latter. So I think Lacazette really is. Let's face it, after going to be sold in the summer if we can get a buyer. So I think we've given Aubameyang this contract. I think we need to make it work and persevere with him up front as the number 9 because he's 31 now. We can't have him bombing up and down the left wing, and helping out the left back for too much longer. It's just physical. We need to prolong his goal scoring ability, his fitness, as long as we can, because we've given him this contract. I think we need to persevere with him up front.
But even if we play better with Lacazette as the sort of
man. I do, because I don't think we've got anything to play for in the league this season, apart from finishing as high as we can. I think we've got to be ruthless, like Johnny said.
Yeah, but Arteta's got plenty to play for, hasn't he, Andrew? I mean, you don't play.
Do you know what?
You don't pick teams.
Yeah, but he hasn't been doing that. Well, he hasn't doing that, has he, Adrian? Let's face facts. I've got some facts here. Funnily enough, Emery, who was sacked last season, had a 23% loss percentage at this point when he got sacked last season. Arteta has currently got a 43% loss percentage, and then Emery's points per game over 43 was 78. Arteta has got 64. He's not been doing a great job. If we're going to be building for the future, we're going to have to build for the future. We're going to have to sort of say, right, enough. We're going to do it or we're not. So do we not play Aubameyang and keep playing Lacazette and then selling him in the summer? Or do we put our faith in Aubameyang, who we've given this massive contract to, who's the club captain? I don't know. What do you tell me? I don't know what to say.
Well, if you want to sell Lacazette in the summer, play him now because it'll put the fee up. A player that's out of the team in the summer, but they'll just try and get him for free. So I see where you're coming from, but I just think you pick the best team, and I think Lacazette's our best centre forward now.
I mean, for my two, Penny. Do you know what? It's a fascinating point that you bring up there, Andrew. I really think it is. And I think Adrian, hinted at a point which is spot on. Like, let's get realistic. Arteta's managing for his job right now. There's no question about it, and he should be. This has been a disaster of a year, if we're honest. It's been shocking. Now, what I would say is because, the only thing I would say, though, Andrew, about your conclusion, it seems a little bit contradictory. Because for me, this league has been a write-off. So the only way Arteta comes out of this with any kind of saving grace is if he has a young team that has grown in confidence and looks like it's going to be ready to start the next season on full guns blazing, full steam ahead, and we can actually start looking at things like top 4 and stuff and say we are going to have a proper shot at doing that. If we end this season trying to regain the form of our previous best striker, when we've already been up and down with form anyway. If it goes wrong, there's only one place for Arteta, and that's the goal queue, because he's already hanging by a thread in terms of what he can sell as a resume to the Arsenal fans in terms of a dream, in terms of prospects going forward. So I think he needs to happen upon, and I think, there are some people that would argue that we are there, but he needs to happen on a style of play which is coherent, which everyone can see what we're trying to do, and brings about success, even in the short term, so we can all go into next season with hope. Because without that, if this kind of form bundles on to the end of the season, what's next season going to look like? There's absolutely no reason to believe it's going to be any better.
No, I know. But you know, in my ideal, I'd rather, and I know it's just controversial, in my ideal world, I'd rather, you can't look back, I can't say I wish we hadn't done that, because it's pointless. But I would actually I'll be looking very, very strongly now to replace both Lacazette and Aubameyang. I'll try and get some money from Aubameyang in the summer personally as well. I mean, that's what I would like to do. I mean, I would love to see do you know what? It's very, very small sample size, but from what I've seen in the under-23, I would love to see Balogun get a chance, because he seems like an ideal identikit striker for what we need.
But do any of you guys seriously think that? I mean, like, let's not forget, like, we were all fawning over Aubameyang when he was in form and scoring goals and actually showing a bit of leadership as well, and leading the team, and the team are looking at him and saying, like, we want to play like you, we want to play with that spirit. Like, I suppose I want to take you back to the old adage of what is it? Form is temporary, class is permanent. Do you seriously believe that Aubameyang is going to be stuck in the doldrums forever? Because I don't. He's had some problems going on in his personal life, and it's definitely taken a while for him to kind of get back up to speed. I don't think that that's necessarily a case for us to abandon ship. I think that, he probably needs to be sat down for a little bit, and when there's ample opportunity, whether that be we're up against it and actually we need a bit of dynamism, we need somebody to get in the right positions, in the right places, and some decent finishing, for him to come on as a sub, or actually perhaps, we're rolling all over a team, we're 2-0 up, okay, bring Aubameyang on, he gets a hat-trick, whatever, I really don't think he's signed a massive contract, and there's a reason for that, is because he is a fucking class player. And I understand that, there's less than half of the season left now, and Arteta is managing for his life, but he's going to need everybody, and who better to come and help you save your season than your star striker?
Yeah, it's only a few months ago that he was winning us the FA Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's not a busted flush. Look, every striker has their peaks, and most strikers score the bulk of their goals 25 to 29, 30, and then you with most of them you see it, peter out a little bit. That will happen, but he's still one of the best players in the Premier League when he's on it. So
do you think though that he was given that contract in the summer? Like I said, do you think he was given it because of what he's going to do over that 3-year contract, or do you think he was given it because we just couldn't face losing him at that point?
Maybe, but we wouldn't have wanted to lose him, would we?
No,
it was a reward. It was a reward for what he's done. And
exactly, and that's not ruthless.
He's not exactly injury prone, is he?
It's not being. I don't know. Let's just leave it there, because we could go on about that all night, couldn't we? Really, but I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I love Aubameyang, and he was amazing last season. I mean, can you imagine?
Oh, I definitely get I definitely get what you're saying, Andrew. Like,
he wouldn't be in the.
He has been rewarded for previous play, and Chapper's completely spot on. Adrian's saying the same thing. Like, no one. I'm not saying pull the ladder up on Aubameyang. He's a class act. Like, and he's proven, like, out of everyone in the squad, he has the most proven resume. So you don't just. One of the issues with Aubameyang is, even if you wanted to move on for him, we wouldn't get any money for him at this stage. I don't think anyone would take his contract. But what the issue is, which we were talking around, and Adrian, summed it up. If Arteta has chosen for us to, in terms of our attacking lineup, to pose a different quandary to teams, to attack in a different way, this isn't anything new with Aubameyang. He's never been good at link-up. It's not like, he's in a bit of... He just doesn't do it well. Lacazette has always been far superior in that way. And all that's happened is, potentially because of our other good players like Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe, sometimes you don't play your best player, you play the best team. Who complements who? And Lacazette gets the best out of those guys because he can play that quick foot. We can hold it up a bit better. But ultimately, I do think that we might be in the market for a new striker because if Lacazette is not the long-term solution, I'm not sure that, despite Aubameyang being an elite finisher, I'm not sure he's ever going to be a guy who can fit into this system. If this is what we're going to continue to play, that's all it is. But of course, he deserves time and certainly shouldn't be hounded out.
Yeah, that's the worry I've got. I don't think he does fit into this new Arteta system if this is what he's going to be playing long term. I've got my concerns about that. But anyway, it's like I said, we could talk about for ages and ages, and maybe we do it another day. But I'm just going to quickly. I mean, hey, you two guys, okay now? Because I know we've gone on a bit while. We started a bit later. Are you okay to just sort of finish off on this quick? Just a bit of light-hearted quiz.
Yeah, let's
go
for it.
or?
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah.
Great. Right. This quiz is testing your knowledge on previous former Arsenal players.
Oh dear.
Okay.
Right. It's a really simple format, right?
I'm going to be exposed here. Yeah.
I'll give you a player, and I'll give you the amount of clubs that they played for in their career. Includes loan clubs. But it's only unique clubs. So if they've gone back to a same club, that doesn't count, right? And then in turn, you'll bid for how many of those clubs you can name. So if I go to you first, Johnny, you will say, right, he's played for 7. I can name 4. Yeah. Adrian's got the opportunity then of saying I can name 5.
Sure.
Okay.
And if he does say I'll name 5, you've got the opportunity, okay, I think I can go for 6, and so on.
Yeah.
Or you say, right, Adrian, you name your 5.
Yeah.
And the person that gets it gets the point. It's just simple, straightforward.
Okay.
You with me?
Yeah.
We'll do a quick, just a bit of a trial run, okay? Just one player, bit of a trial run, give you an idea. I'll come to you first, Adrian. The player is Steve Sidwell. He has played for 7 different clubs.
Yeah.
So how many do you reckon you can make the trial run?
I can't think of that many. 3.
3.
I'll go 4.
How many? Fantastic. Do you want to get Johnny to name the 4? Or do you want to go for 5, Adrian?
He can go for that. Yeah, that's fine.
Go on,
right. So, Reading, Fulham.
Yeah. Obvious one.
Does Arsenal count? Like, can I say Arsenal?
Yeah.
Oh, right, lovely.
That's just the 3 straight away. Did you say 4?
I said 4. Yeah. So, and then where else did he go? Well, oh no, maybe you have stopped me.
If you don't get it, Adrian gets the point.
Right. Okay. Let me think. Steve said, "Well."
I think you're on the clock here, John.
I know you're going to have to.
Well, I've got the 4th. If you're stuck.
Well,
I'll say QPR.
No, he didn't play for QPR, so that would be the point to Adrian.
Yeah. Chelsea.
What's the other one then? Chelsea. Exactly. Oh, wow. So you get the idea. So that was just a bit of. That was the first one.
Oh, one. I should have gave it up.
First one proper. Right, Johnny, this is you to make the first bid. Liam Brady played for 6 different clubs. How many do you reckon you can name?
2.
Okay, start a bit of 2. Do you want to join in, chappers, just for a bit of fun as well?
Not for this one, no.
Oh, I could definitely go 3. Yeah.
I'm going to have to say name. I'm going to have to, yeah. I wouldn't get more than that.
Arsenal,
Yeah.
West Ham,
Yeah.
and what's the one he played for in Italy? He played for Juve.
Yes. Juve is correct. So that's a point to.
Fair
So how many
play.
clubs did you say it was?
Yeah.
Juventus.
How many clubs did you say he played for?
6.
Could I have a stab at one?
Wait. Yes, of course.
This is a real stab in the dark, but it just came to me and I thought maybe. Cork City.
No, didn't. No, didn't. Do you know what? He had
So there you go. This is why I'm not playing, man.
Arsenal, Juventus. Then he went to Sampdoria.
Yeah.
Then he went to Inter Milan.
Yeah, I had Inter in my head. Yeah.
Then he went to Ascoli Calcio, which is the full name, and then finished his career at West Ham. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I watched
well
him
done,
play in the
Adrian.
flesh. I watched him play in the flesh for West Ham.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it was. Yeah, he must have been about 40, but he was still good. He was still dynamite.
But I mean, what a career the guy had, really. I mean, I'd completely forgotten that he went to Inter Milan. I knew it, but I'd completely forgotten that when I was researching. Anyway, your go now, Adrian.
Okay.
Jimmy Carter, not the former president.
Jimmy Carter.
But were you there at the same time as Jimmy?
Yeah, I know Jimmy very well. Cleaned his boots. Yeah, he's a good lad. He's a very
7 clubs.
very funny man. Right.
7 clubs he's played for. Do you remember him, Johnny?
We'll see how Adrian gets on first.
4.
Name them.
Arsenal, Millwall, Liverpool, Portsmouth.
Well done. Well done. Yes, I didn't know Portsmouth. I honestly did not know Portsmouth.
I played against him when he played for Portsmouth. It's a bit unfair, really. A bit of experience, but yeah, I played against him for Southend when he was at Pompey. And we were good, mate. We were good, become quite good. But I cleaned his boots. I was a kid, but we get on really well. So yeah, it was. I've interviewed him on the radio and worked with him on Arsenal TV as well. So he's a character. He's Jimmy Carter, let me tell you.
I used to watch him play at Millwall because my 2 brother-in-laws were Millwall fans. I went to Millwall for about 3 years, as well as Arsenal, and I followed them home and away. And I saw Jimmy Carter quite often at Millwall. But anyway, the 7 were Palace, QPR, Millwall, Liverpool, Arsenal, Oxford, Pompey. And then you went back to Millwall.
I was going to say Palace, I was going to say it was a total guess, but I was going to say it.
Started his career at Palace, Right, so this is back to you then, Johnny. Next one, played for 6 clubs, and it's Michael Thomas. 6 clubs.
3.
Oh.
Not bad start.
That's strong. I think that's strong, Johnny. I'm a bit stumped on Mickey Thomas.
I didn't know he played for 6 clubs. I have to admit.
I'm gonna let you have a piece of this. Yeah, go for it.
All right then. Arsenal, Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arsenal, Liverpool, West Ham.
No.
Did he not?
No, West Ham. No. Which is unusual because nearly all the old Arsenal players
exactly,
West Ham. But no, he didn't. So that's a point to Adrian.
Well, I fluked that, haven't I? I've not got a lot to offer beyond Arsenal and Liverpool. He must have gone and played overseas, right? You can't play overseas.
Yes. I went on loan to Portsmouth from Arsenal. Then he went from Arsenal to Liverpool. Arsenal to Liverpool. Then he went to Middlesbrough on loan from Liverpool.
I remember it, yeah.
Was it Nottingham Forest?
No. Benfica, and then he finished his career at Wimbledon.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known any of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew Benfica, but I didn't know any of the
This is bloody only Connect standard. This is, Andrew. I tell you, fair play, mate. You're not as quite as good looking as Victoria Corrin, but you know you've got more charisma.
I think Adrian's probably won this, Eddie. He's got all the points so far.
Adrian, next one. 2 left. Adrian, Silvino. Silvino played for 5 clubs. 5 clubs. How many of the 5 can you name?
Oh dear. 1.
How about so?
Right.
Yeah. Go on then, Johnny. Go for it.
Arsenal, Barca.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah. Well done, Johnny. You're back in the game.
Did he go?
You can't win.
Play for any Brazilian teams?
Right.
Did he play for any Brazilian teams, Andrew?
Yeah. Started off at Corinthians, which
Yeah, I would have said that. Yeah, I would have said that as well. Did he go Celta Vigo in the end as well?
Yes. Yeah. From Arsenal to Celta Vigo, then to Barca, and finished up. Remember who he finished up? Anyone? Man City.
Yeah, he came back to England. Yeah.
Man City. I've completely forgotten that.
It's funny how you forget, isn't it? Yeah.
It's interesting. I find it the game interesting because I lose track of players when I leave Arsenal. I lose interest unless they're, unless they're a real favourite. But yeah, it's interesting to see where their careers have gone. Last one. Then it's back to you, Johnny. A player I actually quite liked when he was at Arsenal. Stefan Schwartz.
Oh, okay. Is this winner takes all? Yeah, this question.
Winner takes all. He has played for 6 clubs.
2.
Okay, Adrian.
Yeah, good shout. I'm just trying to think where he came from.
I quite liked him. He's a good player. I think
scored a big goal.
I like his family because obviously they give us all the herbs, don't they?
Stefan Schwartz. Oh, it's really annoying because I know that he played for another team in England. Can't remember.
You did.
I'll go for 3.
Ooh.
Go on then. I was maybe going to go 3, but that's it. No,
go on then, Adrian.
I'm not confident about this. Arsenal, obviously.
Yep.
Sunderland.
Well done. Yeah, did.
Wow.
And Fiorentina.
Ooh, well done. Good knowledge.
Wow,
yes,
that is impressive.
Well done. That's a
Fair
good one.
I was winging that. I didn't even know I knew that. Yeah.
Can you name any of the other ones, chappers?
I was going to say, is Malmo in there?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes, it is. Well done.
Nice.
That's it.
Benfica is the other one, and Valencia.
Valencia, yeah. I wouldn't have known Valencia.
No, so that's good. Good knowledge. I wouldn't have got for Fiorentina.
I played with Schwartz. He was good. He was a really good player.
Yeah. I liked him.
Thunder thighs. Yeah, he was. He was strong. Yeah, strong player.
Took quite a good dead ball from memory as well.
He was a good player. Yeah, he was. Underrated. I think. Yeah, he just didn't.
I think so.
Didn't stay at Arsenal long enough, really.
Yeah, I think so as well. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed that. Just to finish off the show.
Lovely.
So thank you ever so much. I'm sorry about all technical issues at the beginning, but I hope you come back on again soon. Johnny, thank you ever so much. Where can people get hold of you? You've got this new channel, haven't you?
Yeah. I thought I'd turn my hand at a bit of Arsenal YouTubing. It's called OOHTOBE, the channel, OOHTOBE. So do check it out. Put a video up today discussing the current plight of Arsenal and where we go forward from here. So do check it out. If you do touch spine on the channel, be sure to give it a little like and subscribe, please. Every bit of support is very much welcome. Thank you.
Great stuff. I will put a link to the channel in the show notes afterwards as well. So thanks ever so much for coming on, Johnny. It's been a pleasure. You do that. What's your name of your podcast as well, again?
The other podcast.
The
The How's Your Father podcast as well. Yeah. So yeah, for all the dads out there, if you're interested in having a bit of light entertainment around fatherhood, check it out. We talk about all different aspects of fatherhood. So yeah, the How's Your Father podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Definitely need that sort of guidance throughout this lockdown as well. If you've got your kids at home with you, Jesus, Adrian, thanks ever so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure. And like you said, I can't wait for it all to end so we can actually go out and have a pint one day just around the corner.
Yeah, it won't last forever, but yeah, no, thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, all good fun.
But what have you got on at the minute? Anything you want to plug?
No, not really. I mean, we did a breakdown live around every game. So yeah, if you haven't watched it yet, it's a good show. We just sort of build you up to kick off, 20 minutes or so of sort of detailed analysis on what's to come, and then halftime, full-time analysis, your tweets answered. So I invite interaction from the fans, and then we talk about their opinions at halftime and at full time. So yeah, it's a good show. And yeah, obviously check out the breakdown as well when that comes out on a Monday if you can.
Yeah, and I recommend the league show as well, which you're on very often, aren't you? As well, that's really good. Listen.
Yeah, on that every week. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, if you like the EFL, yeah, totally football league shows. Yeah, we have a good laugh on there.
I do.
It's a good show. Yeah,
I do. And Chappers, great to have you back, man. How you doing?
Yeah, it's good
great to have you back.
I have to say, so it wouldn't be a From Dial Square to Where podcast without a little quick hair assessment, would it? So, Johnny,
he's into his
barn. Start with you, my friend. You are quite simply European champions at this stage. It's got to be said. Adrian, you are most definitely top of the Premier League there. You're looking very, very slick. Andrew, you and I battling relegation, I'm afraid.
But it's all shaved off.
Great to meet you, Johnny. Great to meet you, Adrian. And yeah, really good to see you again, Andrew, mate. Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
You too. Fantastic. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Just to give us a like before you leave, and give us a subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks for what James, Albert, Neil, to name but a few, for all your comments in the during the show. And thanks to anyone listening on the Spotify or iTunes. Give us a review. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. And bye-bye. Up the Gunners.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to From Dial Square to Where. Please help us grow by giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and following the show on your preferred podcast platform. Please also visit our Facebook page, our Twitch channel, and of course our YouTube channel. And whilst you are there, please subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss any upcoming shows. Please also press the like button on the video so we can get recommended by YouTube to other Arsenal fans all around the world. See you soon.
I need to find a second here. Well, Holding is going to hurl himself into Michael Oliver's book there.
I think he was getting a yellow card for a fortnight after Christmas break. Teaching unions and a number of local authorities have been pushing the government to close all schools temporarily. And in other news tonight, the singer Jerry Marsden has died at the age of 78.
BBC 5 Live.